in Seoul, Jakarta, and London. So first of all, thank you so much for Hospital Rooms and Digital Art School, and also Jen Chima for inviting me to the amazing workshop here today. So yes, it is currently pretty late here in Seoul. It's 10 p.m. So there is like a big time gap, but I'm very glad that despite the regional differences and the time differences, we are able to connect and communicate together in this platform. Yeah, so to introduce myself, I am a contemporary abstract painter, and I use oil paints in order to create my large gestural paintings. And I also use vivid and very bright colors. And most of the times I spend my times painting, and I hold exhibitions. I move in and out of countries in order to go to exhibitions, and I also teach students. And when I create my artworks, mostly my works are created with intuitive mark makings with my paintbrushes, and I get inspired in various sources. For example, in my surroundings, it could be, sunlight, it could be natural forms, objects, people, anything can inspire me. But in this workshop, we are going to look at natural forms in order to get inspired from. So by the end of the day, what we'll be creating is these little, I'll show it to you here, these little artworks here. So they're very vivid and vibrant. And what you will do is create your very own gestural mark makings from the resources given. And okay, I will briefly talk about the materials. So I would have asked you to have stuck your papers onto the tables like this. And these are the A5 papers, and these are A6 papers. So you can actually mix and match various sizes according to your needs, so it's fine. And if you haven't taped it, go ahead and tape it right now. And another main material is my watercolor set here. And if you only have the tubes, you can always squish them out onto your palette and just use them. And I've got my 3 brushes here, and these are my big brush, middle, and small brushes. So you can get your own brushes. And I also have my wide brush, which I'm going to use it for the background here. And I've also prepared my waters here and crayons and different type of crayons there. So hope everything's ready for people. And we are actually going to put this aside, and because we are going to observe some of our images, and these, you should be familiar with these images because I have made that into the downloadable packet. And these are actually photos that I have taken during my holidays. And I love to take photos when I get any inspirational moments or anything that inspires me. And these are captured moments of my inspirations. And what I really like about them is that inside the frame, there are so much rhythms that is happening here, and they're all just natural lines. They're all naturally formed, and nothing's artificial. So what we want to do at first is to observe them. We're actually going to use our hands to go over them together and try to feel the rhythms and the gestures that are created naturally from here. And we are going to try to translate that onto a different piece of paper. So actually we need another piece of paper, and I've prepared it here. You can use any size paper at this moment because we want to create our own mark makings from here onto this paper. So shall we use our hands together to go over the lines? So try to fill the lines the way the leaves are curved, okay, and the speed, everything. So try to have that. And what we will do is find our best moments. And everyone's best moment will be different. So you find your best moments here, and let me go and find my best moments. Actually, I'm going to get the middle section here. I'll let it open here. So this is my best moment here. And what I will do is I will actually practice it on the air actually first until I'm comfortable with it, because what we want is not getting it exactly off here, but we're just trying to get the rhythm, okay? And once we are comfortable, we want to grab our paintbrush, and we are going to get any color at this point. You can use any color. And what we will do is get ready. You need to dilute it actually pretty a lot with water and go with the section. I'm going to practice and get it straight down on here without any hesitation. I don't have to make it exactly the same. What is important is that we are very comfortable. We just make comfortable lines and we go with our own feelings, creating our own mark makings. So that is my first mark makings. And what we are doing is extracting 10 different. The more mark makings you have, the better. And I'll use the same color for now, and I'll choose a different section. So you do not follow exactly what I do. Get your own section. And where can I find? Okay, I'm going to get this huge mark here and get it right done. So if you need to go over the lines again, of course, you can do that. So when you're doing it, please think about the density and the thickness. So it does make me feel like I am writing some letters, as if I'm writing like calligraphy. So you can also have that inside your mind when you're creating, but a very, very abstract one. I'm going to switch the color to yellow. And you do the same. And we pick another area where it interests us. I'm going to get this curve. Okay, so you can use any lines. So what is important is get things very confident with your own feelings. You don't have to follow me. So I'm going to actually use a different image. So now on this photo, there are different vibes. The patterns and the energy is different. So we're going to do the same with our brush, go over them, find our best moments. Okay, and go ahead. Put it onto this piece of paper. I'm going to use that. So just try to be very confident and try to deal with the thickness. There is no right or wrong answer because we are dealing with abstractions. You can choose your own colors too. So actually I've already created how many different? 5. And we're going to extract 5 more. And I'm going to change my brush, make it even smaller. And actually, I have a plant right there. So if you have any of your plants around you, always feel free to bring it next to you, and you can use that as your own inspiration for your mark making. So I'll actually look at my plant and try to follow the lines, get the filling, and get it on. So when I'm using a smaller brush, the filling is very different. What we want to do is extract as much as possible. Okay. So that's enough. So again, let me go back to this image. You try to go over the parts again with your fingers. Try to deal with it. And let me actually get this little spiky things here. I like those smallness. So I'm going to get them on here. Just like that. Okay, that is enough. And let me try using another resource. It does have a very, very different vibe here. So I hope everyone is following me well. Try to find the joy, to find your best part from the images. I hope you can feel the joy that I can feel when I'm looking at the photos here. Okay. So lastly, my last mark makings. So the more mark makings you make, the better it is, because there is more choice that you can choose from. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside. You can continue to do it. And I'll show you the different mark makings that I've extracted from the same resource. There are so many different various types of mark makings that I can extract. And everyone's mark makings should be different. So I'm going to also put this aside. So once you are done with making your mark makings, we're going to actually go on and create our own finished products on here. And we'll use our white brush. As I said, we are going to put the background. And when you're putting on the backgrounds, please use bright colors, because those will come as the base layer. So what we are doing is putting on layers and layers on top of each other, so that there is a sense of space coming out. So go. I'm going to use this yellow color, and what's going to happen is I'm going to create a mark making. I'm even going to make my background to be like pretty rhythmic and gestural. So that's one of my background here. So if you do not have a wide brush like me, you can always use your big brush and just go over them so that you fill out the space. It's really up to you. And so I'm going to get light green. I'm going to avoid having a strong color for my background. And should I get... So be confident when you're doing it. Okay. So I have just filled up the second paper. And what you want to do is you want to actually fill out the whole different papers with different colors. And I'll use a light blue.
And just to give you a time check, Hannah, and everyone that's joining in the workshop today, we have just had 20 minutes of the workshop already completed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now on our second one, on my third one, actually. Just be very generous with your colors. And I think the reason why I like bright colors is that it really affects my emotions. And I always like to have a very bright attitude towards my life. So I tend to choose lots of bright primary colors in a way. Okay. So onto the orange. Please pick your favorite color when you're doing it. Just do not choose black or browns because they're too dark. Okay. I love the satisfaction when I fill the whole page just in one stroke. And on to the next, I will use magenta.
And Hannah, we've obviously we're using different size papers today that you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
So A5 and we've got
Mm-hmm.
A6 as well. Is there a reason that we're working
Mm-hmm.
on different sizes today?
Because, you know, people have different sized brushes and things work very differently with the different size. For example, with the very small sized paper with a wide brush, we only need for one stroke to fill the whole thing. And that brings an open end, and it just gives some sort of space in between. So it's very different different by just filling up the whole space, a big space with big brushes like this. So we just want to create two different types. So people who use bigger paper like this will end up having something very different as a result. And when you go over the lines, it's completely fine. Later, we are going to take off the tape and it's going to look very nice and clean. So you don't have to worry about getting your paint all over this place. It's totally fine. So I'm going to use green again, actually, and then reuse a color. Okay, I think that's it. So I've just created my background. They're just my background. And the main lines will come in afterward. So while this gets dried, let's go back to our mark makings that we have created, right? So what we will do is we're going to choose them. We're going to choose them and see which fits on each of our papers. So you need to have your mark makings with you right there. And I'm going to use one of my favorite hot pink color on it. And so when I translate this onto here, you are going to vary the sizes as well. So now that we have a small size, so you can have a smaller mark, but if you're going to use a bigger paper, you're going to enlarge the mark making that you've made. You can enlarge it. You can zoom it in as much as you want to. So I'm actually going to use this mark making that I did it at first, but I'm going to zoom it in like really big so that things will just come in big like this. So again, I'm dealing with,
What's really beautiful about this, Hannah, is that because the paints are wet, all the colors are kind of bleeding into one another. I think that's creating a very beautiful kind of effect.
So you can always go on top of it and just let the paint just blend in. It's not a bad thing if it blends in. Some people panic when the paint blends in and they go, okay, it didn't go as what I thought. But actually, sometimes those little coincidences make the work even better. So there is a joy from there. So I'm actually choosing my colors pretty intuitively, but at the same time, I'm trying to go sometimes with the complementary colors, sometimes with the contrary colors. So I am going to use orange color on top of green. So those two colors will be quite strongly contrasted, but you know, that's what we want. And let me get these mark makings on here. Just be very brave. And do not panic if things doesn't go as what you wanted, because it's the end result may look completely different this line on here. I'm going to enlarge it, so go ahead, be brave. So now let me move on to this one. And again, I'm going to choose a contrary color. I'm actually going to choose a peach color that will go contrary to the blue. I'm deliberately choosing this color because I know not many people will have this color, so that people will choose their own colors. So which areas should I choose? I'll actually go with this. Is there any other questions that people are wondering? Okay, so that is completely different mark making there. So the moment we add another layer, a different story and a different dimension has been added, and that's what we want. We're going to constantly add on to what we have until we are satisfied with it.
And just to let everyone know that we've got 15 minutes remaining of today's workshop. If you do have a question for Hannah, please let us know using the Q&A function. Even if you just want to say hello, let us know where you're joining us from. And I'd like to say a big hello to Astrid, who's joining us for their very first digital art school workshop today. And a big hello to Snowsfields Adolescence Unit and Bluebell Ward, who are joining us as well today.
So again, so this background is actually a little bit darker than the usual one. So I'm going to choose a brighter color so that things will be matching together. You have to constantly go back to your mark makings, okay, and get them. Again, more lines. Okay, so oops, my leaf wants to join. Final one. I'll choose blue and I'll make this leaf-like.
Hannah, we've got a question come through from Laura, and Laura would like to know, how do you decide when you're done with your painting? How do you decide when you're finished? How do you know?
Yeah, that was what I wanted to say, because the more layers you put, sometimes you overload it. And there is especially when we're dealing with abstractions, there is a moment where you need to add on, and then it gets up a certain point and then it's overloaded and you want to go back, right? So in my case, I search out for any empty areas, whether I can fill those empty areas and make everything in a good balance and a good harmony. So once I reach those harmony, I tend not to go over it too much, and I will come back to it on the next day, so that when it's a freshly minded, I look at the work again and decide if it's finished or not. Okay, so I'm done with my second layer, right? So I'm going to switch onto a smaller one and add on more layers using different one. And I'm going to try to find a color that I haven't put on. So I'm not doing this in just a mood or feeling. I'm actually being quite calculative with my colors so that I don't repeat my colors, and those colors will go harmoniously well. So with my smaller ones. Okay. So I've just made my small mark makings there. Maybe I'll put some of these lines on too. So at this point, when you're adding on, it kind of relates to the question before. You have to try to find an area that is quite empty, and you feel that those weight has to be there. So it's about your own intuitive feelings as well to find those balances. And I will be adding.
Hannah, we've had another comment come through from Laura, who says it's wonderful to watch Hannah create and describe in real time how to decide what to add or not. So thank you very much. And thank you, Laura, for joining in with today's workshop.
Yeah, thank you for asking. And you know, it's as an abstract painter, it's always the question that I have to ask myself all the time when I paint.
And Hannah, lots of your biographies and interviews online, you speak about how your work's very inspired by oriental calligraphy and kind of traditional techniques. Can you tell us a bit more about your background or training in that?
So I'm a South Korean, right? So I do have quite oriental background, and I think and I was raised in Jakarta, so that's like a completely different country within Asia. So all of these colors and the lines and the way, sorry, I'm trying to like get myself doing both work. It was there like a holistic approach to me. So things were in me as I experienced all of, you know, the environment and the educations and everything. So that kind of formed me to have my Eastern background. But at the same time, when I did my university in London and spent my 6 years in London, I've adopted the westernized techniques in a way. You know, I use oil paintings, which are very traditional, and I combine it with this mark makings. You know, we have these Eastern mark makings where you put your spirit, and you put your spirit in and you blast it out all at once. So things are done at once. So something isn't like building up at the same time. So these two theories, I combine them together. Hope that.
Thank you, Hannah. That was great.
Okay.
Just to let everyone know that we've got 10 minutes left of today's workshop.
Okay, so let me speed up and get my pink color on here. I know we are actually working with 6 or even 8 different papers. So I know that some people may have not finished. So people who don't finish, it's okay. You can finish it in your own time, because, you know, there is no wrong or right answers anyway to this. You don't have to follow it exactly what I do. And I am choosing quite a dark color at this point because I want to make things stand out. So I'm trying to polish and I'm trying to finish the artwork. And those comes up with like a hint of light. So, you know, sometimes it's really funny. You go with one mark and you just find the work just being alive and it's completed just because you made a mark. I think that's the beauty when you're working on with the abstractions. Okay. So I'll refer back again. Okay. So I'm pretty much done with my second layer. So at this point, what you want to do is find your own ending point. Yeah. So to find your ending point, that's when we are using these crayons and pastels, because you want to try to find, so there again, there's no wrong and right answers. I am going to add more lines to certain areas where I think I need them. Okay. So on certain works, you don't have to add on anything. On certain works, you may need to add a bit more.
Hannah, are you with the pastel referring to your initial drawings, or are you just kind of doing this very intuitively?
At this point, we are adding on. So these little mark makings I'm making with the oil pastels are for us to fill in any of the empty spaces or any of the spaces that you fill. So it's about your filling. If you want to add more to certain areas, go ahead, just add them. It will add more depth to it. And
Just the
but you know, some people get a little bit confused what to add. You can always refer to the mark makings that you've made.
Wonderful. And just to give everyone a time check, we have got 5 minutes remaining of today's workshop. As
I'm
Hannah,
actually almost done with mine.
as Hannah mentioned, if you don't get to finish your works within the session today, we'd really encourage you to continue with them after the workshop time. And we'd love to see them. So if you could upload those to our online gallery at hospital-rooms.com, we would be absolutely eternally grateful and so excited to see them. And of course, we will forward those on to Hannah as well.
I would love to see the results because I know that everyone will have a different outcome. So please do upload. I would love to see them. Actually, I think I am done at this point. So what's going to happen now is that I am going to take out my tape and you will be able to see how clean the lines here are. So this is the reason why I've asked you to tape it on the desk so that there'll be a frame where you can actually be proud and sign your name and write your name so that you can place it on top of your desk. You can stick it onto your wall. You can give it to your favorite person. You have to be a little bit careful when you're taking things out. I'm doing things a little bit quickly. So can you see how clean all of our edges are? And here. So nice and clean, isn't it? So once you've taken out your own, what you will do is maybe you want to pick your best one out and go and sign it, like what I'm doing. Okay. And you're going to let it dry. So do you want to come and see how I have created my paintings there? There's 6. So I think this is it for the workshop today. And, you know, I hope you really enjoyed creating your own mark makings and trying to bring that into creating your own abstract artwork. And I know there is no right or wrong answers. It's all about our emotions and feelings. It's you being happy with the outcome. So I really hope you liked it. So is there any other questions that Jen, you want to ask?
So we've had a question come through from Laura, who wants to know, Hannah, do you ever decide to switch the orientation once it's done? So a lot of your works today are in portrait mode, so they're facing that way. But do you ever decide to turn them that way or work that way?
I do actually. I love all of the questions that she asked because sometimes I turn it upside down and see whether I like them. And actually a painting that I feel that is very successful, when I turn it upside down, all the balance are just perfect still. And even if I turn it horizontal, everything just stays balanced. And I know that, okay, I made a good work. And, you know, sometimes when I'm struggling with the work, I try to turn it, you know, sideways sometimes, or even, you know, upside down. And sometimes different mark makings, because you know we normally do not make the same mark makings. So certain mark makings do not come on that direction, and there is a whole like another beauty and attraction from mark makings that you can never create and has been created when you turn it upside down. So go ahead, you know, if you do not like your work, and you know, turn it upside down and see whether you like it, and you can just decide, okay, actually I'm going to make this artwork this way, I'm going to sign it this way. It's completely fine.
Amazing. Thank you, Hannah. We've had another question come in from Jenny, and Jenny would like to know, how would you adapt this process into acrylic on canvas or working larger scale?
Oh, the process actually comes exactly the same. You know, I've only contracted the canvas, the paper into a paper, but if you look at the work behind me, this is one of my big artworks, and I've done it with oil paint. You know, you can do it with acrylics. It works the same way, where you put the base layer and you add on different layers on top, and you stop when you feel that you know it's done.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Hannah. And we've just got a lovely comment to end the session on from Maxine, who's joining us all the way from New York City from the Creative Centre.
Wow.
And Maxine said it's been a very freeing exercise and they really enjoyed it. So they're going to try the exercise again while listening to music. And I think that's a fantastic way to end today's workshop, Hannah. We've had such an international audience today. Obviously, we're working with yourself, an international artist. Thank you so much for your time and dedication. Obviously, you are on a much different time zone to us, so we really appreciate it today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed doing this workshop, so I hope everyone felt the same way. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Hannah, from myself and everyone on the Hospital Rooms team. Thanks to everyone that's let us know where you've been joining us from today, and thanks to everyone that submitted a question or left a comment. It's always so brilliant to have you with us live. It's time now to launch our end of workshop poll. If you could please indicate on your screens how you found the workshop today, this will really help us to improve the Digital Art School as we continue to grow and develop our new terms. So that should be popping up on your screen now. And we'll let that run through to the end of the session so that everyone's able to answer today. Just give that a few more moments. Richard, if we could please have our slideshow. Fantastic. So if you're still here with us, I'd really like to share the story of Hospital Rooms and how the workshop today has come about. So we are a London-based arts and mental health charity, and we transform inpatient NHS mental health units with extraordinary art. We began the Digital Art School in response to COVID-19 lockdowns when our in-person work in mental health units was put on hold. It's been hugely important for us to join together and build a community and feel part of something special, impacting our creative well-being in a positive way. You can find the library of our past projects and all of the previous Digital Art School workshops on our YouTube channel, where you'll find a variety of original and imaginative sessions with world-class artists such as Hannah Shin today. From big cat drawing to typography design, Gyotaki printing, and so many more, please do have a look and subscribe to our channel. We also have a Digital Art School newsletter, which keeps you informed of upcoming workshops, the materials you'll need for them, along with any relevant downloads and links to last week's video if you missed it or you just like a recap. You can sign up for that at hospital-rooms.com. We love when you share your artworks with us by uploading to our online gallery, and you can do so anonymously, or you can let us know your name and where you are. If you've created some gestural paintings today, either joining us live or watching back on demand, we would really love to see them. And of course, we will share those with Hannah. We will be back next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. for a workshop with artist Carl Rowe, where we'll be making peace placards. Once again, from myself and everyone on the Hospital Rooms team, thank you all so much for joining us today. Another big thank you to the wonderful Hannah Shin for leading today's workshop. And we'll see you all again next week on Thursday at 2 p.m. Thanks so much, everyone.